to become the best version of themselves. And then, right before the pandemic began, Kevin Samuels started talking to women about dating and relationships. Basically, this is the first time in mass media a man, especially a man of minority African American descent, has openly and directly challenged women on their dating stances, dating philosophies, and other hypocrisies that some women have. You are now listening to the authentic male perspective on dating and relationships. What is he thinking?
And now, without further ado, your host, Alexander B. Stevens.
Who is Kevin Samuels? He is a 53-year-old African-American gentleman born and raised in central Oklahoma, the Oklahoma City area to be exact, to a single mother who did not have any other kids and never ended up getting married until Kevin Samuels was well into his 30s. Kevin Samuels' father has over a dozen kids, but did not really play any role in his life. Kevin Samuels admits to having only child syndrome and quite often tells people who call into his show that are only thinking about having one kid not to do that to the kid. They deserve to at least have a sibling. Kevin was a pretty good student. He was accepted and graduated from the engineering program of the University of Oklahoma. While at OU, he pledged Kappa and was a relatively popular gentleman on campus. Kevin Samuels, after college, didn't really use his engineering degree, but instead got into the telecom sales industry, where he did corporate sales of telecom services to businesses. At some point in his adulthood, Kevin Samuels moved to Texas to continue his work, but he also got deeply involved in the church. Actually, he was involved in the church from a young age, but he took a leadership position in his 30s, and that is of a singles ministry leader at his church in Texas. So he was dealing with dating and relationships in the religious space, spanning all the way back to 20-some years ago. Kevin Samuels has been married and divorced twice. He has one child who is approximately 22 years old and a senior in college, a daughter, and no other children. Kevin Samuels blames himself for both of his marriages not working because he will self-admittingly say that he wasn't the prototypical leader and the type of man that he was supposed to be in the relationships. So he blames himself for his ex-wives not acting in the best manner because he wasn't the leader he should have been. In Kevin Samuels' adult life, he lived in Oklahoma, Texas, New York, and currently he is in Atlanta, Georgia. When the telecom industry collapsed 10, 15 years ago, Kevin began to transition into the current line of work he was in, or at least the line of work he specialized in before he blew up on YouTube, and that is of a high-end personal and corporate image consultant. Throughout his image consultant work, he would fix men up on the outside and the inside as far as their appearance goes, but he would often hear a complaint from most of these men who, in most cases, were top 10% earners because not many other type of men could afford his services. Anyway, the complaint that he heard most often from these men was that they could not find suitable women to settle down with. These men have already had their wild 20s, sowed their wild oats, and now we're looking forward to settling down and starting a family, but did not really see too many candidates out there worthy of doing that with. So Kevin, after hearing client after client have such a similar complaint and thinking about his struggles, talking about dating and relationships back in his church-going days and his church single ministry leadership days, he started talking about dating and relationships on his YouTube channel, which originally just started off as a fashion and fragrance channel. So it started off fashion and fragrance, transitioned to like male improvement and how men can do what they need to do to become the best version of themselves. And then right before the pandemic began, Kevin Samuels started talking to women about dating and relationships. Basically, this is the first time in mass media, a man, especially a man of minority African American descent, has openly and directly challenged women on their dating stances, dating philosophies, and other hypocrisies that some women have when it comes to dating. In 2020, when the pandemic was roaring and all other forms of entertainment were getting shut down, Kevin was having shows 5 days a week, 2 to 3 hours a night on YouTube, where he would start off with a 30 to 45 minute monologue and then spend the rest of the time individually with caller after caller, basically asking them about their dating life, what they wanted, what they're looking for, and using his image consultant and his singles ministry relationship experience and history to evaluate their situations and let them know what they should expect, what they shouldn't expect, and what they should change in order to get the type of man that they want. So Kevin Samuels' channel started to grow at a steady increasing rate starting in 2020. But the thing that put him over the top was the average at best viral video, which was a 25-minute phone conversation in which a woman who self-admittedly called herself average looking and didn't have a college degree was demanding a six-figure man and saying that she couldn't settle for anybody that was average in her eye, a normal man. Kevin Samuels has a direct, no nonsense, I'm gonna speak to you as if you are a man type approach when he talks to women. And women are not used to that, and society as a whole are not used to that at all, because society has indirectly or directly trained men to treat women with kid gloves and to not be so direct and forthright with them. Anyway, the conversation started off somewhat contentious because this young lady called in on the wrong day, not talking about the subject he had at hand, and just had her own agenda. And then it ended pretty contentious at the end, where Kevin ended up cursing her because after 20 plus minutes of talking, she just seemed like she didn't understand the simple points that he was trying to make. This viral video, average at best, took Kevin Samuels from the 80,000 follower range to the 1 million follower area in approximately 3 to 4 months. So seemingly he was an overnight celebrity, even though he had been on YouTube for 4+ years at this point. Now, approximately a year after his meteoric rise due to average at best, now Kevin Samuels stands at approximately 1.4 million followers on both YouTube and Instagram. He has shows on Monday, Wednesday, Friday on YouTube, and Tuesday and Thursday on Instagram. That wraps up our Who is Kevin Samuels background segment. And now we are going to one by one dig into some of Kevin's top talking points and controversial statements. And you will hear what me and a special guest thinks about Kevin's stance on these dating and relationship issues. So definitely stay tuned. If you're listening to us on YouTube, hit the like button, share, subscribe, spread the good news. The more people I can help, the better. If you're not listening to us on YouTube, definitely check out that YouTube channel. Just search WhatIzHeThinking podcast. Look for that red and black logo, and to my page you will go. I drop additional content on YouTube that you will not find on the normal podcast page. If you're just listening to me on Spotify or Apple Podcast, make sure to leave me a 5-star review on that Apple Podcast What Is He Thinking website. I would definitely greatly appreciate it. All right, that's enough housekeeping. Let's go ahead and transition into the second phase of this episode, where we start to talk about the top Kevin Samuels talking points. And we let you know if this is good advice that you should use in your day-to-day life, or if this is something you should ignore altogether, or take with a grain of salt. Without any further ado, let's get into it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've heard from this gentleman before, and I want to bring him on again to help me discuss Mr. Kevin Samuels. I'd like everybody to welcome Mr. SW to the show. How you doing, sir?
Hey there, how you doing, sir?
Everything going all right?
Yes, sir, it is. Definitely blessed and highly favored, sir.
That's what I like to hear. So how familiar are you with Mr. Kevin Samuels? Are you one of the individuals?